Yeah. So what was our last discussion? We're talking about
Tablets.
servlet, right? Okay. Okay. So in the last class, we talked about how to create a servlet. So implementing all the methods, of the servlet interface, and we try to send a request to the server. Server, how the when the request come to the server, how the server is going to do it. So first, what is the first step it will do, the server? What is the first step it will do? Let's note it down. Yeah. So if you go and talk about it, let's say this is the browser and this is the server. This server have the services, multiple resources. Okay. So this service have the projects. Okay, like project 1, project 2, project 3, like this. Okay, inside each project, we'll have resource 1, resource 2, and resource 3, like this. Resource 3, like this. Okay, so that means multiple resources contains the project. So this is the project 1. Okay, this is the project 1. Let's say this is the project 2, and this is the project 3. Okay, so like this, multiple projects we can deploy in a server. This is, we can say, let's say server, Java server. Okay, so the Java server, so we'll have multiple projects. For each project we have resource means here servlets, HTML files, CSS files, JavaScript files. So all the files what are going to give some kind of process and you give some data. So those kind of all files we can call it as a, what we can call here, we can call it as a
Resources.
resources, right? Yeah. So here, so when you send a request to a server like this, so from browser, so when you are sending, you have to specify IP address, port number, project name, and resource name. Till that you have to pass, right? So whenever you are giving this kind of all the information, all that information will come to server. Okay, all the request will come to the server. So this is the request will come like this. So whenever it is sending, so guys, we will that request go through the network based on the IP address and project name, server port number, and project name and all. Okay, so once the request come to the server, what server is going to do, you first it will create the request and response objects. First, what it does, it will create the request and response objects. So this request and response object, first immediately as soon as the server accepts, get the request from some client, the server creates the uh, server creates the you know re- server create the request and response object. So so these are all the two objects. This is one class object, this is one other. So these classes is already have the implementation of this servlet request and servlet response. This is nothing but a a interface is there, that is interface is servlet request. So that implemented class object, that implemented class object, this also servlet response implemented class object. These two objects will be created as soon as the request comes. This is for every request. So if you send one, then the request server immediately create the request and response. So once it created the request and response, whatever the input you have sent from the client, all input detail, all client detail will be stored in this server, in this object, guys. Will be stored in this object, all the request. And so from this request object, all the input detail from the server, we can take it out. We can take it out. So once we take the detail of the request, detail from the request object. So then you can use this information and do whatever you want to do. And then finally, once you have done the process after taking this input, the server is going to talk to database or doing some calculation, something else. So whatever it is, so it does something, and finally it will give it has to respond with some data, response data. So we expected some we gave them some input, and we are expecting some output. So that output will, if you keep that output, whatever output you want to keep, so that output, if we can keep in a response object, so the response you have to, if you want to send some data to a client, okay, to a client that like a browser, whatever they're accessing. So you have to keep that information, that data, in which object? A response object. So once you can keep the response object, and if you send that, the response will come back to the server. The response will come back to a client. The response will come back to a client. So this is how we can assume the flow. Okay, so you can assume the flow. This is what it will happen actually. So the request will go to the server. Server will take, first it will create the request object and response object, and all the request information will hold by the request object. And once you do some process and all, so that process, whatever data you want to send back to the client, that information, if we can keep inside, for this, if you can set this data to a response object, the response data, that data will come back to the client. So that is the total flow, guys. But once it create the request and response object, before sending the response, it will do something, right? It will do something. So I'm talking about servlet, guys, here. So we send a request to access some servlet. You know that how to create a servlet, how to configure a servlet in a web.xml. Servlet name, servlet class, and servlet name and URL pattern. This all configuration. So that will be used by the server. Okay. So based on that, that will talk to the particular servlet. When the server send a request to a servlet, it will do the request object and response object immediately. If it is the very first time, that means the first time you are trying to access the servlet, then what it does is it will look for a class. Which servlet class? It will look for a class which is mapped with which URL, whatever accessing. So you send some URL pattern, right? With that URL, is there any servlet class is there? It will servlet class. Once it identified that class, this is what this will happen at the very first time, that once it identify the class and it creates the object. If it is not created, it creates the object and keep in the memory. Once it created the object and kept in the memory, what will happen, guys? uh, what is going to happen is, so that once it created object, and that immediately the server is going to call the one method called init method, which is one of the implementation method of servlet. It will call the init method. Before calling this init method, what server is going to do is, it creates the config object, all configured details will be stored in that object, and then it will call the init method. So I can say whenever it is calling init method, before that only it created the object for a config object, and it hold the data and it sent. So this is what the first time it happens. And the next time onwards, which method will call, guys? The next time it will immediately call the
Service method.
service method.
Method.
So this is the first time. And second time, if I send the same request to the same servlet, what will happen is, so it will check that whether object is already created. First, it will check that URL pattern, what servlet is mapping. If that is already there, so it will look for it will pick the class. And if there is already object is created for that class, server is not going to create object again. It won't create again. So it won't create again, and it won't call init method again. It always calls the second time onwards. It always calls the service method.
Service
Before calling the service method, we already know that whenever, as soon as we get the request from the client, so first what the server will do is it creates the request and response objects. Request and response objects. Okay. So request and the response objects. So that is the reason. So before calling the service method, it has to create it. Okay. Okay. So then once it is created, the request and response object, so it will pass that. It will pass that to service method. It will call. So then whatever logic you will keep inside service method, all the logic will be executed by the JVM, because this is a Java program, right? JVM, it will execute. And that, so what is your responsibility here is, you send some request, guys. You send a request and you want some response. Okay. So let's say my requirement is simple, just for understanding the entire flow. My requirement is, I want to, okay, so I want to, let's say here, yeah, I want to create a form like this. Whenever I just send a request and I need a form like this. Okay, the form will be like this, guys. The first one is, okay, let's say I'm going to this logic. To implement this logic, you don't need more knowledge. And simple it is, but we are trying to understand the flow of the thing. Okay, so calculate. So that is one is number. Okay, so number. Okay, so this number, I will say number one. Okay, so this number one, so I need like this, guys. I need like this. Okay, so this should be like some input box. Okay, and let me go around. Number two, this one. Add. Okay, so it looks like it's a simple logic, but we are trying to understand what is it. Okay, so this is the add method, and I need two input boxes like this. Okay, this is the form, guys. What I do is I just enter number one, number two, and click on add button. The request has to go server with these two details. I mean, number one and number two I entered right in the form. So first I have to design this form, and when I enter the details, okay, so those detail has to send to the server. The server has to take this input, and it has to calculate what is the addition of those two numbers and the response. I mean, when click on the add button, the request has to go server. Server has to do process the calculation, addition has to be done at the server level, and the response I need addition of these two numbers. Okay, so then, so with this we can understand how the request goes and response goes. But so the even for this example, for every example, the flow will be the same. But only thing is, in this example only you are doing hardly addition of these two numbers. Might be in a some other example you might have to do many other operations and all. That's the only logic you have to implement at the Java level. But architecture level, flow level, you can understand here. Okay, this is my requirement. So first what I have to do is, I have to do form design. So I have to prepare one resource. For what purpose? To display the screen, whatever you see here, right? So you display the screen, uh, create input form. So what I can say, create input form. So using HTML language. Okay, once you created the input form, so that you are ready with that, and create one servlet, uh, to do addition, addition, to do to calculate, or to do uh, create a servlet to calculate for what? To calculate addition of two numbers. Okay, this is the two things I have to do. So that means how many resources I have to create it, guys? How many resources I need to create? Two resources.
Resource.
Two
One is
resources.
HTML, another one is servlet program. These
Server
are the
program.
two things we need it. Okay, so now let's go and do that. Okay, so I already have one servlet here. So let me work here in this servlet. Okay, so where is our program, guys? So I'm just going to take another servlet. So that is what I'm doing is addition servlet. I'm just naming it as servlet name is addition servlet. Okay, so in this addition servlet, this is a file name I gave it, and I'm going to give this here. Okay, so I'm going to give this here like this, and opening here and giving the addition servlet. Okay, implementation, destroy servlet, get servlet info, init service method, something like this. Okay, so we already have that, but only this thing we just changed it. What we changed, guys? Just we changed the name. Okay, so I think this is the one. Okay, so here what I will do is, what I have to do, logic I have to provide. For which logic I have to provide, guys? So first I need to design this, and then I have to create a servlet. Now I'm ready with the servlet here. I mean, ready with them means just I created some simple class, but still I need to write a logic. Before that, try to design the HTML page. Okay, so how to design? What is that? Calculate form or cal form. Okay, so I'm naming it as calform.html. Okay, now let's go here. So how to design? You know, guys, HTML tag and HTML and head the tag, and this is the head tag, body tag, body tag. Okay, so this is the header tag and body tag. Okay, so inside this body tag, I'm just going to create a form. If you look at this, can we call it as a form or not? See, if you take any application, right? So can we call it as a form or not? A form
Sir.
means what?
Yes,
What
sir.
it contains? Contains some input fields. You have to fill some fields, name, something like that, right? So Now I need to design this form. So to design this form, inside body tag, I can use the form tag. Hmm, Form tag. There is a tag called HTML form tag. So this form tag, I'm going to do it like this, guys. I'm going to do it. So the first thing is I need to uh, uh, display this one, the calculate header, right? Like this. So that's one I want to display. So I'm just displaying here calculate. Okay. So if you see that, I'm just keeping this the calculate text, whatever the heading text, I'm keeping in H2. There are tags called H1, H2, H2, H3 like this. So if you use H1, look at this, render this first one and look at this. I use the H1 tag at 2 and then I kept that some text inside that between the H1 tag. Now if I go and run it, you guys, look at this. Did you get bold or not? Okay. So you get bold and with some big size. Okay. But if you don't keep it, if you don't keep it, if I don't keep it, what is going to happen? So I don't keep inside that. It's very, very small and it's not bold also. Okay. I'm returning back here. Okay. Uh, so then I'm going to make it as 2. So look at this. I'm just trying to explain that the differences between H1 and H2 tags, the purpose. Okay. So now let's go and see that. So this is the calculate. Okay. So comparing with that H1 to H2, it got less small. Okay. So you can observe that H1. Again, I'm going to make it out and save the file. And it got some bit big, right? Now, so they look at this. You can see that field here, the very big. And now I'm going to change it H2 tag, H2 tag. So the moment when I do the H2 tag, it got small. Okay. If I do H3 tag, H3 tag, and go here and click on this, it got small like that. So like this, you can use H6i. So as soon as you are changing this tag, the size wise it will reduce. That's the thing. Okay. So it depends what size you want to use. Let's make it H1 only for our case and add additional attribute. So for this tag, align equal to, let's say, center.
Center.
Yeah. So if I center, if I keep here, so refresh it, you got into center. Okay. So now I want to do this. I want to make it, so, mm, so make it. So I need some underline. So as I designed here, just let's say I want some underline thing there.
Underline
If you want to do that,
you.
so can you say, do you know what is the tag you have to use?
You, sir.
You. So this is the tag I can keep here. So we can use it. So like this simple guys, HTML. If you want to learn the HTML, you simply go and look at the some tags and what is, so you can design it. That's not a uh, big problem. Big problem. Yeah. So this is how I design. Now the next thing is what we have to design: number and number two and the add button. Okay. So how to design now? Let's say this is input tag. There is a tag called input because someone has to enter some data. So then you have to use some input is needed from a form. So some screen. So you have to use input tag. So the input tag is this one, and if you'll see that I just added input tag input tag close, started and close. You can close the tag like this also, guys. You don't need to close like this only. You can close like this also, or else you can close the tag. So what is the closing tag? Same tag name, and just you will use the slash macro slash. This is the input tag. Okay. So we got the input form, input field. Can you see here? You can see that, right?
Sir.
Yes. Yeah. So now I can go here, number 1. Okay. I just gave the number 1 before to that, and I'm taking another one, another input. So number 2, and then input field. Okay. And then what is other thing we needed? So the same, that is also input again. The button is also input, right? You will click on that.
Right.
You will do some input. So button is also input. So but you by default, if you give input tag, so what it is treating is it treat you know yeah, it treat as normally, so it's not coming under second line. I will talk about it. So let me make into second line. So what I do is, after that there is a br tag. Is that br tag will give some one line gap. So that means it will come to the next line. So like this. Okay. So now go and render it. So first number 1 came, and then input field, number 2 input field. But by default, if you use input tag, what's coming? Text box. We are getting text box. So which, if you specify type equal to mm, button or submit.
Button.
Let's say I'm using submit here. Button or submit, both are same, but visual wise it will give the same, but the work wise it's a different. Okay. For your case, just try to use button. Okay. So what I specified attribute, guys, for this input tag attribute, I used it
Button.
Type.
button.
Type equal
Button.
button.
Now let's say here. So yes. Okay. So number 1 and number 2. Okay. So button. If you see that button, can you see any text here? It's a button actually. So I just used, but it got changed to input box to text box to this button. And so the value that I'm just giving attributes, guys. Attributes. These are all the attributes for this tag. A type I gave, type attribute I gave, value attribute I'm giving. Value attribute I will say, okay, I'll say add. Okay, that is what I will give here. So look at this add button. So you got it, add button, right? So like this, if you want to do more alignment and all, still you can change it. You can change it. You can change it. Okay. So I just added big things and go here, and so do this like this. We got some a gap, right? So you can feel it is somewhat better. Okay, but still you want this whole part in center. So still you can go and do it. Still you can go and do it. So like this, guys. You added for only center this one. So by remove this, and what you do is, you there is a tag called uh, div tag, guys. Div. There is a tag called division. I can say it's a one kind of division. So like this, you can create a number of divisions in our form, right? Okay. Uh, Division. Or else you can add that align attribute, center attribute to form tag also. Form tag also. That's up to you. Okay. So now I just entered here. It's coming here. Now let's add attribute align equal to. So I'm going to use it center. Look at this. It entire part came into, because I just added. I just kept entire heading information, input 1, input 2, and button, all I kept in the one division, inside division attribute. So for that division attribute, I added the align attribute. So this is the tags, guys, sorry. So for this division tag, so inside the division tag, I added all these fields. And for this division tag, I added one attribute called align attribute. So that attribute, I gave the value center. You can give left, right, something also. If you give right, so it will come under right side. It came on right side. So it's like this, you can align. Lot of other stuff you can do there, but it's the basic stuff we are trying to understand here. Okay. Now it came to center. Now what I will give is, I give 24 and I give 26. When I click on add, I have to display, the sum, total, total of these two numbers. That means I am going to give this work to my server. The server has to do this calculation and send back the response. Okay. So so we are ready with the form, right? We are ready with the form. So let's go and take this call form, calculation form, cal form, and go to the project folder. This is the project folder, right? So we have, so here we have project folder. So here home.xml is there. So what I will do is, I'm just keeping calform.html. Okay. So calform.html, this is the one. So what I did here, form. Okay. So what are the attributes I added for this? Input type equal to button and value equal to add. So we can use submit button also, guys. We can use submit button also. Okay. What is the difference between button and submit is, if you use submit button, the action attribute will work. So there will be one attribute called action. You can add this action attribute to form. So if you use submit button, and if you do something, so like this is the path you have to give. For this action attribute, the value you have to give path, which resource you want to send this information, this form information, to whom you have to submit. That resource path might be, if you want to submit this information to a server, inside server, you want to give this information to the servlet program, you have to give the path of that resource. Okay, that path you have to provide to this action attribute head. Okay, are you getting me, guys? You have to give to the action attribute. Okay, so before going to target, so just trying to refresh it again. I'm going to refresh it again. So what is the code here? I'm just opening here and clicking on submit button. So the submit button. So right now we don't give any action. We just gave here the simple thing, right? Look at this. Right now we gave slash something like that. Look at this. So it went to like this. Okay. So because there is no nothing is there, that is coming. But here what we have to give is, okay, we have to give servlet path, whatever the path we want to access it. Okay, we are ready with the form. The next thing is, let's do the this thing. Okay. Okay. So when you send a request, when you let's ready with this addition servlet. So let's compile this addition servlet as well. Okay. So to compile this addition servlet, so this is the addition servlet guy. Okay. So how to compile this guy? You guys know that, right? How to compile it? So as usual, set path equal to C program files, Java JDK bin. Okay. Java C addition servlet.java. Okay. Addition servlet.java. So why Java C is not recognized? It's still it's saying. Did we set the correct path or not? I'm not sure why it's not working. Okay. If you want to see existing path location, how to see, guys? Path percentage, path. So this is the correct one, right? Might be the C after that colon we missed it. So I can say the wrong path. I mean, the path look like correct, but the value pattern we gave wrong. Let's try to give again. Okay. Let's try to give again. Set path equal to C program files / Java JDK
JDK
and bin.
bin.
This is the path we have to give to work the compiler. It's working now. Now Java C
Addition.
addition servlet.java. So because when the server, I mean the compiler is trying to compile this one by one, so it found that not found because the compiler is not able to recognize there are some packages and classes. So what are these packages and classes, guys? This Java X.servlet package does not contain. So what is the problem then? So you have to where those packages contains available, where it is available, where it is available. Java X.servlet. Where it is available, guys? Where that Java X.servlet is available. Look at this error. It is saying that the compiler is not able to find this Java X.servlet where it is available.
Servlet.api.
Yeah, Servlet API. It's a Servlet API jar file where it is available. So that is available in Servlet API jar. So that generally that API jar file you can find it from the
Set class path.
So I'm setting the class path, guys. Set the class path equal to Servlet API jar. Okay. Now I'm compiling. The compilation got success. Compilation got success. Now I'm just taking this and going to project and classes folder. I'm just placing. Okay. Now I'm ready with this cal form. Let's remove this. It's not required. Even if we keep that, no problem. So now we are ready with the project. So let's copy this project. Okay, let's copy this project. Go to download. So here web apps and delete this existing one, and I'm placing here. I'm just deploying the project. Okay, I'm just deploying the project. Now, after deploying the project, I'm starting the server. I started the server. I don't know whether it is already installed or not. Might be some problem. Might be some problem in the project level. Let's go and see that. The problem is here web.xml. We didn't use this, web.xml. Web app. What is the path, guys? Web app icon. At least this tag should be have contain that. Otherwise, the server while reading this web.xml it doesn't have the basic thing. It gives an error. That's the error we got there. Okay, now let's go and start it. The server started successfully, right? Server got started successfully. Yeah. Now you guys tell me how many resources we have in this project, guys. How many resources we have in this project? The web app, we have project CST project. Tell me how many resources we have in this project. How many resources? So total project till now, how many resources we have inside that?
3, sir.
One is
HTML, servlet, and
one
XML.
is no, yeah, XML is the actual structure. That's fine. So mainly resources, one servlet and another one is
HTML.
HTML. These are the two resources which we prepared. This WebINF, web.xml, these are all the structure, right? We will configure, we do configure and all. But mainly we can say how many resources we have. One HTML resource and one. Yeah. Okay. So if I want to access this servlet, from client, so do I need to configure the path or not in web.xml? We have to configure that, right? So how to configure that? What is the tag? How to configure it?
Web app tags.
Servlet source. Okay. Inside web app there is a servlet tag and servlet mapping tag. Servlet tag and there is a servlet mapping tag. There is one more thing. Servlet and servlet mapping tag. Very good. Servlet and servlet mapping. Okay. Servlet and servlet mapping. You can see here. So for this inside, this is the two tags need to be configured for each servlet. If we create 10 servlet, 10 configuration you need like this. Okay. But the difference is the syntax is same for each servlet. Only the difference is name and file. URL pattern for that particular servlet will be changed. Okay. Now inside this, what is the tag we have to do? Servlet name. Servlet hyphen name. Servlet class. Servlet class. So these are the two tags. And for this, under the servlet mapping tag, we need to have, so these are the two things again. The same tag, servlet name and the starting tag and servlet name. Okay. So URL
Servlet
pattern. No, URL pattern, I guess. Is it servlet URL or URL? What is the tag name? That time.
URL pattern.
URL pattern only, right? So these are the thing. So you can give the name. I will give add. What is the servlet name I gave? Add. What is the servlet class name? What is the servlet class name? Add. Addition servlet or add servlet? Addition servlet. Yeah. So we have to use the same name. Whatever you name, you gave the same name you have to do. Otherwise, the server cannot identify that from the classes folder, because the classes folder we kept with the class name, right? So that should be identified. Okay, where is the web? Yes. Where it gone, guys? Yeah, this is the okay. Addition servlet. Okay. Again, what is the name you used in this configuration? The same name you have to configure here. And the URL pattern. I'm using add/add. Okay. First, to access this, we are ready with this. To access this service, what we have to do is, you know that HTTP : IP address : port number : project name / like this, you can specify. You already know that the pattern. So at last, what we have to specify? The resource URL pattern, resource path we have to specify. Am I right? We have to specify a resource path. So you guys tell me, what is the URL for this? Is, if you go here in the CSTPL under that, so what I do is, you know that, right? Slash, what is that, guys?
Add.
/add. So you can say still here /CSTPL/. So this is the path. But before that, you know, the IP address and port number is the same, because the resource is already the common. This is the URL. That means the moment when I click on submit button, when I click on submit button, this action attribute will work. So automatically related here. This action attribute is going to work. That means we already gave the path some resource, which resource you want to call. That resource part we already gave to the action attribute. That will be taken care by that. So then immediately to this path, the server will client will send to the server request. Then server, when you send a request to a servlet, what will happen? You know, guys, it will create request and response object immediately. If it is the first time, it will create object for the servlet, and it will call the init method, and then it creates the request and response object. And the request and response objects will have the request object contains all the input detail, whatever you send, whatever input detail we send, and that details will be captured from the input form and take it out and can do some process and finally do that. Okay, so this is what is going to happen. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I already started the server, right? I already started the server and configured again because I just modified the web.xml, right? So it's better to stop the server and do that. If you do any modification in web.xml as a classes folder, then you have to restart the server, otherwise the changes will not affect. If you do in HTML changes, you no need to change the anything because the server is not going to load and use that in dynamically in HTML case. So that's the reason. Just now I restarted the server and let's go and do that. Okay, what is the pattern, guys? Localhost 8080. What is the project name? Port number is 8080. Look at this, port number is 8080, right? So what is the project name? Hmm? The project name is
CSTPL.
PL and
CSTPL
the
slash add.
PL and not add. We have to call the form, right? First,
Okay.
cal form.
Alpha.
Cal form dot HTML. This is the
HTML.
resource I am trying. HTML file resources, we can directly use that name and access it. You don't worry about it and access it. Now we got the form or not? Did you get the form or not? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Yeah, we got the form. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the input here, 12 and 36, and clicking on add. The request is going to server. It's processing. Look at this, it's doing some process. Okay, request is going to server. So if you see that it called the init method or not, it called init method. So it called the service method also. So because why we are not getting in console is for the service method case we don't write any. Did you write any logic here? It's an empty method, right? It's an empty method. So that's the reason we are getting empty response. So look at this, it got changed here automatically. It is an empty response. So now the question here is we have how to capture that information here, whatever the information we filled in the form, and how to capture it and how to use it. Quickly, if you see that, go to the HTML file here, call form. Okay, we have input tags, right? So let's name it for input tags like an input name. So that is a attribute. I am giving another attribute name equal to what? Okay, the name is number 1. I'm just giving my own name. You can give or whatever name you like it. You can give it N1 and N2. N1 and N2. N1 and N2. Okay. So here the thing is here. I just named it at for each input field. Now I need to get this information because whenever you submit this, whenever you click on the submit, not this one, right? Sorry, the file itself is wrong. So this is also same code, but actual what we worked is different. Not this one. I think not this one. I'm just naming it as N1 and N2. Okay, I just named it. Okay, so now, so how to capture the information at server level? So how to capture it? we have the request object, right? Request dot, there is a method called get parameter, guys. There is a method called get parameter. So what this method is going to help is, anyway, you know that all the request detail will be stored in the request object. From the request object, how to capture the detail, we are trying to understand. Okay, so look at this. From request object, we are just calling the get parameter method. For this get parameter method, you have to give what is the parameter. So what is the name of that input? We already named it, right? N1. So use the N1 here and string N1, number 1. Okay, and string N2 equal to same request dot get parameter. The parameter name can be changed here, N2. Okay, so now if you display it, if you want to display those number, whatever you captured, you can display or you can do with that anything. Okay, so why I'm taking is a string input. So request dot get parameter always whatever value you send, input number value, whatever value you send, so always that will be represented as a string. After that you have to convert it, guys. You have to convert it. After that you have to convert it. Okay, N1 and N2. So now, so this is the logic we have, and I'm just taking this logic here and going to keep it here. Where it is there, and this is what. Okay, so here the request variable is different. That is the same variable we have to use. Otherwise, it gives a problem. Okay, so addition. Now let's compile once again, because I changed the code, right? I compiled it. Once I compiled the program, so I got a class just now here, addition servlet. I'm just taking copy here and going here, webnf, downloads here, web apps, CSTPL, web app, classes folder. I'm just deleting the existing one, pasting new one. Okay, and as I changed the resource, I mean the third class file, I have to restart the server. I have to restart the server. Otherwise, the changes will not affect. So I just stopped the server, again the starting the server. Okay. So now what I will do is, now again I'm going to send a request here. So I just send the request here and sending 52 and 36. Okay. So clicking on add. Okay. If you go on the server level, did you get whatever value we entered in the form? Are we getting or not?
Sir.
Yeah. So what happened is the same thing. Whatever the data it comes in the request object. From the request object, how to capture those input data by using get parameter, request dot get parameter. The only thing is, for all input values, whatever you design in the form, all input you need to give name, some name, unique names, name for each input fields. So from that you can capture the values by using the name. Okay, so once you get the name and you will get the values, then what you have to do, all the values whatever you have, whatever it will be in a string format only. From that you have to convert into string to integer and all. Okay, if it is the integer you have to convert it, but string can hold anything, right? So that is the reason always, the return type of the get parameter is designed such a way. Okay, so now I hope you understand the request detail, how we will capture by using the get parameter. Okay. So now what I have to do is I have to convert into N1 to integer, because if I do that N1 plus N2, if I do addition of this N1 and N2, what's going to happen is this is string type and this is also string type, right? Both are string variable. If you do both string variable 5612, 56112, the response will, the output will, because these are both strings we are concatenating. It's not actual addition. So then what you have to do is, if you want the actual calculation, then you have to convert those first. Okay. So there is a predefined class called integer. predefined class which is part of java.lang package, integer dot parse. If you want to show you all the methods, here I will show you. There is a integer. Integer is a predefined class. Integer is a predefined class which is part of java.lang. So there is a method called value of method. For this value of method, if you give string, the return type it is give integer. That means it convert into string, string to integer. Or else if you want to use the parseInt method also, it works. ParseInt method is going to take string value, it will convert it to integer. Okay, so what you do is always use this value of method. So I'm just passing the value of method. What I'm doing is, so string one, and this is going to return, this is the value, this is going to return uh, some value. So I'll say v1. Okay, and again the same way, just convert into, uh, here n2 I am just converting into integer. That is again. So what I did here, I captured the data, input data, whatever the sent from the form, by using request.get parameter, and then I am just converting these string values to the integer. Now I am going to do the addition v1 plus v2, because both are v1 and v2 both are integer values. Then the calculation will be done. So after doing this operation, that means this by using this plus operator, this is the plus operator. After doing this all the operation, you know, 1 second, guys. After doing this all operation, uh, so v1 plus v2, so I just did it. Now we got the rest, I mean result. You can say it is a res is a result. Let's say this is the result. Okay, so now what we get is here the result, we got it, right? So we have to send the result to whom? To whom we have to send this result? This variable contains the total response, right? The result value. To whom we have to send this? Hmm? We have to send this data to client, right? Client. We have to send this data to client, right? To send the data, so you can use the response object. You can use a response object. Response is object will send, it will take care of sending the data. There is a method called getWriter. Can you see here the response object, getWriter method? To getWriter method, call the print method. To this print method you assign anything here. So I'm giving this print method a result object, whatever the response, whatever the output, I mean the data you want to send. I just want to send this result data. So what I did is, from this response object, I call the getWriter method. On the getWriter method, I call the print method. For print method, I gave the input as this response. This is the line I wrote. Now let's take this code. And paste it over here. Okay, now the variable name is different, right? Res. Let's take this res only. This one, what is this one? Response object. Okay, here I'm going to do it like this. Okay, saved it. Now let me close this, and I'm going to compile it. Okay, when I'm doing compilation, so I'm getting an error, guys. What is this error, guys? Is it checked exception, right? Because it is giving like, unreported exception, IO exception must be caught or declared. That means this, whenever you are calling this method, they are throwing this, that checked exception, right? So you should have throw or handle it by using try or catch. For now in method level, we will throw the exception. If you throw an exception, if any exception, it can be handled. Okay, so now I've thrown the exception here. Now I'm compiling once again. So we are getting another error is overridden method does not. Okay. So what is the exception it is showing here? IO exception. Okay. Okay, we'll talk about it. IO exception. I'm going to throw it IOX for now. Okay, or else you can handle it also. Okay, save it. Cannot find symbol IOX. It is not able to identify what is IOX. Where it is available, guys?
Java.io.exception.
Right. So it is available in Java. Import. I'm just importing Java.io. IO IO exception. Yeah, semicolon. I'm compiling here. Once again, got some success. Okay, the compilation got success. This is the class, right, which is generated just now. I'm taking this copy here and going here, not here, and actually in this project, web apps, CSTPL classes folder, and deleting the existing one and pasting the new one. Okay, once you started, and again you need to start the server, right? So you have to start the server. I'm just starting again. And now let's come back to here and go back here. So this is the cal form, and this is the prefetch, and I'm giving the value randomly 25 and 568. These are the two. Simply 20. Let's say 25 and 20. Then we got the response as 45. Are you getting me? So this total process happened at the backend level. I mean the calculations and all. So look at this again. I'm going to send it the request and response. Click on the request and response. We got the response. Look at this. The response. We got to point. The response got from server. So what happened is here these two data sent to the server. Server takes the service level. I mean controller. I mean to say it is a servlet program. That servlet program service method we provide the logic already. And once we get the result, we are writing to the response set. That's what we are giving. We are getting the response here. Are you getting me? So we'll discuss more detail on this the same here, like how to send other fields data and what is get method and post method, and if how to how to store the data in a database, and how to integrate JDBC program in Servlet, and we will do all the kind of operations. Okay. Any doubts, guys, so far?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, guys. Thank you.